Hi everybody, I'm Jen with J&T Creations and Allegory Gallery here in Ligonier, Pennsylvania. Thank you so much for tuning in with us today. I have another fun project for us. If you like what we've done for you, please hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, share this with all your friends to all your other pages, and post what you've created on our Facebook group, Allegory Gallery Design Challenges, because we love to see what you've done. And if you want to stay up to date on everything we post that's new, hit that little bell. Without further ado, let's get started. Today we are going to make a sweet little Y necklace with a couple little dangles. And I don't have one ready to show you because, well, sometimes life should be a surprise. Let's go over the list of ingredients. We have 24 gauge vintage brass wire, and I've cut 6 pieces to 3 inches. I've cut 1 piece at 5 inches. I have a 14 millimeter square bead here and a 2-part clasp. Use a clasp of your choice. I have 4 7 by 10 millimeter Czech glass beads. These are red with kind of a Picasso end on it. And 2 ball pins. These ones are about 1.25 inches. Feel free to use 2-inch ones if you have. Then you can do a few more little loops on it. And I have 10 bead caps here. These are cute little flowers. And I have 1 piece of vintage brass chain. It's just a tiny little chain, but enough that we can get the 24 gauge wire through. I have 1 piece cut at 1 inch. I have another piece cut at 1.5 inches, and 2 pieces cut at 6.5 inches. Some helpful tools: your ruler, chain nose of a couple of different sizes, your flush cutters, maybe a flat nose if you need one for holding your loops, and then a round nose plier. So the first thing I'm going to do is do all of my loops so that I can just grab them and go. 4 of them are going to be for the Czech glass beads, and 2 of them are going to be for the end clasp. So at the center of each one, go ahead and do that 90-degree bend and complete your loop. Up and around. You can use a thicker gauge wire if you'd like. I wanted to keep a very delicate look so that this was going to be light. If you want to make your necklace longer, I'll let you know how long this necklace is at the very end when we finish, but if you'd like, make these longer. You can go 8 inches, you can go 10 inches, depending on how long you want it. But I kind of wanted this like a Victorian length, so it would be a little bit above your collar on most shirts or dresses. Not quite a choker, just a little bit longer. I'm going to set my 2 aside for my clasp. I'm just opening up each loop so that they're ready to load on when I grab them. I'm gonna load up my dingle dangles at the end. I'm gonna leave about 1/4 of an inch, do a loop. Put that 90-degree bend in there. Okay. Quick ingredient change. We're gonna add 2 more. I want to add 2 more beads. So I want a little color difference in here, I think. I'm going to add 2 of these Saturn Czech glass beads. These ones are blue. And that's because I actually have 2 extra ones of those. I forgot we're doing 2 of the red ones on the end of the little dingle dangles. So we won't need 4 of them unless we add 2 more beads. And these beads, these Saturn beads, are approximately 8 millimeters by 7 millimeters. Now grab one of your 6-inch pieces and feed that into the loop. Hold on to it with your chain nose straight across that eye. Give your loop a little squeeze. Okay, and now we're going to wrap a couple times down and then a couple times up. Nip and tuck. Okay, add one of your bead caps. I'm going to do the blue bead first. And then another bead cap. That is absolutely adorable. I love it. Okay, leaving 1/4 of an inch, do your other loop. Do not close it yet. Let's do the same on the other side. Do the same amount of coils down. And coil back up. Nip and tuck. Bead cap. Saturn bead. Bead cap. And loop. Leaving that 1/4 inch there to allow for the coils. And do not close. Okay, now grab your other loop here. Do your coils. Coil back up. Nip. And tuck. Feed that on to your other bead there. On second thought, you might want to close that loop if it's easier for you to work with the next loop, adding it on. Then go ahead and close that loop after you do that Saturn bead there. 3 coils down, 3 coils up. Go ahead and nip and tuck. Add your bead cap. Add your other red Czech clasp. Go ahead and do your other coil, leaving a 1/4 inch, 90-degree bend, up and around. And leave that open. This time you will want to definitely leave it open. So this one here, I'll show you the other way. Let's go ahead and close it first. This one is entirely up to you, what your preference is, if you want to close it before or after. Okay, a little nip and a little tuck. Add that last 3-inch loop piece we started. Close that hook. Nip and tuck. Bead cap, red Czech, bead cap. Quarter inch, 90 degrees, loop, come around, and do not close. Let's take our 5-inch piece here. Now I'm going to make a little bit of a bigger loop at the top of this one. Still in the middle, do that 90-degree bend, go up and around. And this is going to be at the top of my bead. Coil down. Nip. Tuck. Bead cap. Now when you put on your center bead here, make sure that the top that you want showing on your bead, if you happen to have a picture, make sure that that's at the top. Okay. Drop another bead cap. The bead cap's on your centerpiece too, completely optional if you don't want to put those on. Leave 1/4 inch. "90-degree bend, up and around." Yeah, that's a little too much for me. Let's choke that up a little bit. Okay, that's where I want it. Do not close that yet. Add on your 1.5 and your 1-inch piece of chain. Which one you put on first doesn't really matter. Just make sure you only loop it through one. And now you can close that so it stops turning. Hold across that eye. Make sure your bead caps are going to lay tight against your piece if you're not using a round bead. And go as tight as you can towards the bottom of that bead. And then coil back down. I have enough material. I'm going to go back up, do a nice messy organic wrap. Because this is a tree, so I think we can get away with a organic wrap on that one. And then tuck your end in. There you go. Now I'm going to add one of the dingle dangles on each end of that chain. Close your loop. If you want to keep the same look with the bead caps, by all means, have 12 bead caps and do the 2 on the dingle dangles as well. So just tuck in the end of that wire. That kind of forms its own bead cap. Go ahead and add the other one. And close that loop. There we go. I love it. Now we're going to feed one end onto that middle loop, or one side rather. Close that up. Nip and tuck. And now put your other side on to the top of that center bead. Close it up. Nip and tuck. There we go. And now we're going to add our clasp. Since we're using a bead that's pretty much the same on both sides, it doesn't really matter which one we add. Go ahead and go through the end of your chain. Close that loop. Nip, tuck, if you wanted to just use 2 jump rings at the end rather than do the coils, then by all means go ahead and do that. I just like the wire wrapped loops because they're a lot more secure. So I'm going to do a little bit of a bigger loop on that one. Go through one end of my clasp. And now I'm going to close that ring up. And I am going really organic on this wrap because of the plant-like clasp I've chosen. I want kind of like a viney look. So I don't want it really polished, but if you're someone who absolutely likes a nice finished, tight, polished coil, then do that. And then tuck that end in so it's not scratchy. Great. You're not even going to see much of that anyway, but I just kind of like the fact that it looks a little viney. Down the other side, we're going to finish off with our other clasp. On the other half of the clasp, let's say. A little bit of a bigger loop, 90 degrees. Could have gone a little bit bigger with that loop maybe. Now we're good. And coil away. And if you notice, I went all the way to the opposite end just to use up that last little bit, make it a little thicker. Now I'm going to tuck in that end. Maybe. There we go. Perfect. You can change up the look of this necklace entirely just by changing the beads. I don't know why that's kinking right now. There we go. Change the size of your chain if you want. Change the colors. I really like the brassy vintage brass look there. It just looks very antique to me, very Victorian. And if you stick with the measurements I did with my chain, this necklace is going to be approximately 17 inches. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I hope you had fun. I know I did. Please hit that like button, subscribe, leave us a comment or two with what you might want to see in some future tutorials. And once again, hit that bell so you stay up to date on everything new we post. And I'd love to see what you've made, so please share what you've created on our Facebook group, Allegory Gallery Design Challenges. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.